My pranams to everybody. So I'm just going to recite a few prayers before I begin. Just be a little patient with me. Goragra Ganya Gana Gotra Goloruharam Goranga Gura Tama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachi Hadile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Gauranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Namare Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Vidana Parama Pumarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavir Api Gopala Svikariyat Kripaya Judi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishi Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, I want to thank Doyal Gauranga Prabhu and the devotees of the Kirtan Academy and all the illustrious Kirtan Academy students taking part. We want to have what they used to call in the 60s and 70s a happening. Happening means something which is not just static, which means something which doesn't move, but something which is ecstatic, when it begins to move. As the Bhagavatam 11.330 says, Parasparanu Katanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasa. In Krishna Katha, there should be paraspara. It means there should be some back and forth. So I want to request everybody to please give me your ears and your hearts and listen very carefully. And at the end, I have one small request that you please give some reflection if you can, something that maybe you liked, something that you're walking away with, or as our dear friend Vaisheshika Prabhu says it, what did you win from the program? So I'd like to begin with reading something from an important verse of Bhagavad Gita and Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Yagyatat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kunteya mukta sangha samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. And Srila Prabhupada describes in his purport, since one has to work, even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that the purpose can be fulfilled. Yajna means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoin Yajna vai Vishnu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs yajnas or prescribed yagyas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of yagya as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashram institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varnashrama charavata purushena para puman Vishnu aradyate. A quote from C.C. Madhya 858 and from Vishnu Purana 389. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage, both for good and for both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is a great art of doing work, and in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. Gurave Gurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. So the verse describes that yagya artat. Arta means a purpose. That yagya should be done for the pleasure of the Lord. That's the purpose of yagya. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this verse. He says, Vishnu arpito niskamo dharma eva yagya uchate. He defines what is yagya. And he says it means dharma, which is Vishnu arpito nishkam, which is offered Vishnu arpito to Vishnu nishkam, without any personal desire. Eva yagya uchate. That's called yagya. When we do something solely for the pleasure of the Lord or for the pleasure of the devotees. The Vedas describe yagya by Vishnu, as Prabhupada was commenting in the purport, that yagya or sacrifice, it is directly Vishnu. Again, in the 11th canto of the Bhagavata, Krishna tells Uddhava, Yagyoham Bhagavatama, that I, Vasudev, am yagya. So yagya means something which is done for the pleasure of Krishna. Tate Guru, what is it? Tate Krishna Bhaji Kori Guru Sevan. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, very important verse, very interesting verse, it says, Tate Krishna Bhaji Kori Guru Sevan. What is my Guru Seva? My Guru Seva is yagya. And Guru Seva means I'm doing something for the pleasure of Gurudev. What is it that I do for the pleasure of Gurudev? Some Vaishnavas in the past, they've suggested that we should do kirtan of Gurudev's name, or we should put big, big pictures of Gurudev all over, or we should go around and canvass people for Gurudev. But Gurudev is not a materialistic person. He doesn't want that kind of thing. Tate Krishna Bhaji Kuru. What he wants is our Krishna Bhajan. So we want to do this yagya. It's a yagya for our Gurudev's pleasure, and he wants to see that we do Krishna Bhajan. So we gave this handout to Doyal Gauranga Prabhu, and I find it personally a little bit strange to do kirtan online. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to sing one verse at a time, and then I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. And I can't see everybody, but if you want to chant Hare Krishna, that's pretty bona fide. It would be a nice thing if you wanted to do that and take part. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's from the Madhya Chaitanya Mangal. And it describes that Mahaprabhu, just before leaving Navadvip and taking sannyas, he gave this instruction to the devotees. Murae Sankirtana Yagyara Mahima Sarva Shastra Kohe Iha Mahima Garima Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He says that Mora e Sankirtana Yagya. I want to tell you about the Mahima, or the glories of my Sankirtan Yagya. This Yagya is the Yagya established by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Vrindavan Das Thakur says that Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the father of the Sankirtan movement. So he says, Mora, this is my Sankirtan movement, and I want to tell you about the Mahima, the glories of it. Shaiva Shastri Kahi, all the Shastras speak about Ihar Mahima Garima, the Mahima, the glories, the topmost Garima, glories of the Sankirtan Yagya. There's other types of Yagya in other ages, but this Yagya is the best Yagya. Sarva Dharma Sare Sankirtana Dharma Vishesha Janibe Kali Juge E Karma Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The word sar means essence. Here in Orissa, if you can buy sar is the essence of milk. When they cook the milk down, that thick kind of rubbery thing which is left, that's the sar of milk. So Mahaprabhu says, Sarva Dharma Sar. The essence of all different dharmas is the Sankirtan Dharma. And Vishesha Janiba, you should know, Vishesha means the special quality. Janibe Kali Juga E Karma. This is especially meant for the age of Kali. Gani Je Korishe Prabodhaya Gana Rupe Bedera Uchare Mahodaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gani Jai Kore, say Prabodhaya. Anybody who does this kirtan, the Sankirtan movement, definitely Prabodhaya, they're going to get divine realization. Gana Rupi Vedara Uchare Mahadoya. All the Vedas together, Gana Rupa, the Vedas, Uchare Mahadoya, they're all speaking that definitely they'll give their mercy to somebody who does this Nam Yagya. So in a Yagya, we have different elements. We have there's a kund, there's a sacrificial pit in there. There's a sorry about that. Just pretend that you're hearing from somebody in Jagannath Puri. Our connection goes up and down sometimes. What was the last thing that you heard, Prabhuji? Gauranga, can you hear me?
You was describing the Yagya pit.
Okay. So if you say this is like a yagya, some people will become confused, because even today, even actually amongst the ISKCON devotees, this yagya, this pouring ghee in the fire and chanting swaha idam vishnave hidam namama, it's very, very charming and very, very attractive. Actually, in one purport in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains why that yagya is attractive, because there's names of Krishna in that yagya. But in this age, that's not the process. But here Mahaprabhu is saying that in this age of Kali, Vishesha Jani Kali Yuga Karma, this yagya, this Nam yagya is especially meant. So what does this yagya mean? And Mahaprabhu explains in a beautiful way to the devotees. Sabaloka Karna Garta Kunda Parishar Jiva Shravash Vani Rasa Grita Manohar Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in this yagya, there's a kund, and the kund is Sabaloka Karna, the ears of Sublok, all the living entities in all the universe, Kunda Parisar, their ears are the sacrificial pit, which indicates that this Sankirtan Yajna is not just something which we do for my benefit, but the nature of this yajna is it's meant to be given to everybody, because Soba Loka Karna, everybody's ears, the Garta Kunda Parisar, they're the kundas. Jiva Shrava Dvani Rasa Grita Manohar. There's a Shrava. Shrava is a wooden spoon that you use to pour ghee in the fire, and that's the Jiva, or the tongue. And Dvani Rasa, that wonderful sound of the holy names, that's the Grita Manohar. Manohar means something very pleasing, and Grita means the ghee. This is a very pleasing ghee that we offer to this in this Nam Yajna. Antare Pravishtahana Bhava Agni Jvale Agni Siksha Pulakashu Kampa Kalaivare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So when you take the Shrava, the spoon of that ghee, and Antare Pravishta, you pour that Bhavagni Jvali into the openings of the ears, Antare Pravishta, then the ghee, Bhava Agni Jvali, it enters into the heart, and there in the heart, Agni Jvali, there's a fire that goes on. But the fire in the heart of most living entities is practically, you can't even see it. That fire is a fire of bhakti. And if you pour the holy name in the form of this ghee in the kund of your ear, and it goes inside of your heart, then that ghee, you put that on the fire of bhakti, and then Agni Siksha Pulakashu Kampa Kalevari. What would happen if there's a fire inside of your body? Well, immediately your tears will start coming from your face, right? Your body will start shaking. You'll change colors. The hairs on your body will stand on end. Pulakashu Kampa Kalevari. There's different ecstatic symptoms that take place when you pour the ghee of the holy name into the kunds of the ear for this Nam Yajna. Sarva papi mukta hoya shabajana nache shalokyari mukti tar fire pache pache Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So sarva papi mukta, when everybody becomes free, sabhajana, when all the living entities become free from all their sins, mukti hoy, then sabhajana nache, they begin to dance. This also indicates something else. It's not that we do professional dancing in Krishna consciousness. When the gopis dance, during the Ras Leela, when the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dance in the Kirtan, it's not an intellectual adjustment. They don't think, well, today maybe I'll do some ballet dance or modern dance, or maybe I'll do some Bharatanatyam or Disi dance. They don't think, it just automatically happens. So when the living entities are free from sin, then immediately they all start to dance like anything. And while they're dancing, pache pache means someone's following along behind them. And who is that? Salokyari muktitar, viri pache pache. Salokya, or the liberation of being on the same planet as Krishna. That mukti, and all the other different, adi means etc., all the other different types of liberation, they all follow along in that dance. This is the Nam Yajna. Kadachana deke se noyanera kone nachya bulai Krishna rasa ashwadane Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Sometimes if you see a brahmachari, someone dancing in the kirtan, and sometimes he's looking back at the girls, do they see how ecstatic I am and what a great devotee I am? But in this kirtan, nobody's looking back. Kadachana nadeki, they're not looking, say nayanerakoni. They don't even cast a glance at all these different types of liberation, the salokyadi mukti. Rather, Nachya Bulai, they're just completely absorbed in ecstasy and they're dancing and dancing. Krishna Rasa Aswadane, they're relishing, they're tasting that Krishna Ras, and they're dancing and dancing in ecstasy. This is dancing in Nam Sankirtan. Say Jugga Bediya Rahe Vaishnava Acharya Jani Be Kirtana Yagya Sarva Yagya Arya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So when we do a yagya, sometimes in ISKCON we also do our yagyas. We have an initiation ceremony sometimes. And many senior Vaishnavas come for that. Or sometimes we have a prana pratishta yagya. We have a yagya to install the deity. And you invite many, many different Vaishnavas. So say yagya bedya, there's also different senior Vaishnavas in this yagya, right? Vaishnava Acharya. That's all the Vaishnava Acharyas. They're all present. This is the kirtan of our sampradaya. And by doing this kirtan, we please our Gurudev, we please our Param Gurudev, we please our Parat Para Gurudev, we please our Paraparat Gurudev, we please all the different acharyas in our line, and we please Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Jani Bey, you should know the Kirtan Yagya, this Kirtan Yagya is Sarva Yagya Arya. This is the best of all the different yagyas. Ihate Janila e Prema Mahadan Ihara Grihasta Nityananda Avaran Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So when you do a yagya, or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says in one place, when you do some deity worship, which is also a kind of yagya. A yagya means anything, as we defined from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, yagya means anything which is done for the pleasure of the Lord. Vishnarpito nishkama dharma eva yagya uchate. This is yagya, something which is done for the pleasure of the Lord. So deity worship is also a kind of yagya. Anything that we do for the pleasure of the Lord is a yagya. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta comments that in that deity worship, there's always some desire. Even we read in Lalita Madhav, very wonderful book by Rupa Goswami, how Srimati Radharani was once worshiping a deity of Krishna in the Navarbrindavan garden. It's a long, amazing story. And she also had some desire. Even Radharani has some desire when she worships the deity. What is that desire? She wanted to see Krishna. That was her desire. So everybody has some desire. When we start to yagya, you may say, well, my desire is to become free from material desires. My desire is to please Gurudev. My desire is to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My desire is to get Krishna Prem. Those are all desires. So who is it who gives those desires? Who awards those desires? Because if I'm going to stand in line in this queue to do this Nam Yagya, who's going to be giving out the coupons? Who's going to give me the benefit of this? First of all, what is the real fruit of this yagya? Ihate Jamila e Premi Mahadan. That Krishna Prem will take birth, Jamila, in your heart. And this is Mahadan. This is the greatest treasure. And who is giving that? Who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu designated as a distributor of this wealth of the yagya? Ihar Grihasta Nityananda Avarna. It's that Grihasta Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Avarna. He's the master of that ceremony. He's the master of that wealth which is given. And in that yagya, so many of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are there. Gadadhara Panditai Premera Grihini Etat Vajani Be Shakala Bhakta Mani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So when you have a yagya or you have a mantra that you chant, there's a devata of that mantra who is in control of things. And that devata is Gadadhar Pandit, a Premara Grihini. He's that personality who's controlling that ecstatic prem. And Mahaprabhu says, "E tattva janibe shakala bhakta mani." My dear jewel-like devotees, you should understand, "E tattva janibe shakala." You should all understand this thing. This is a very, very important thing to understand if we want to do this Nam Yagya. Advaita Charja Goshai Amare Anina Sankirtana Yagyastape Sudada Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So when you do a yagya, there's a yagya stapana, or stape means a pillar. And traditionally in Vedic culture, when they perform a yagya, you establish that pillar. And that's, we have this word in English too, the pillar of our movement, the pillar of the Kirtan Academy. It means that the foundation of that Kirtan Academy, the person who's firmly establishing it. So what is the stupa, the Sankirtan Yagya? This is Advaita Charja. He's that personality. Because stapana means to establish also. Advaita Charya Gosai Amare Anina. Mahaprabhu says that it was Advaita Charya who brought me here. And he's the personality who's firmly establishing his Sankirtan Yagya. Sudrida means very firmly, with confidence. How is it he is doing it? Because he's Mahavishnu avatar. And he's also Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. He's Lord Shiva, combined in one. He's the greatest devotee, and he's Mahavishnu. So we do yagya by Vishnu. We do yagya for the pleasure of Vishnu. So Advaita Charya personally has come to do this yagya. He's established this yagya. Previously, other yagyas that are done to worship Lord Vishnu, but this yagya is established by Lord Vishnu. This yagya is established by Krishna himself in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srinivasa Nara Hari Hari Bhaktagan Toshabari Lana Mora Yagyarashtapan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srinivasacharya Nara Hari Nara Hari Adi Kori. The Narahari Chakravarti is the Narahari Sakar is guru of Lochan Das Thakur, and the author of this song, the author of this book, this Chaitanya Mangal, is Lochan Das Thakur. So he's speaking about his Gurudev, and it has two meanings. Srinivas Thakur, we say Srinivas, we mean so Narahari Adi, beginning with Narahari. Why does it mean? Why? Hare Krishna, Gauranga Nichinanda. Why say Narahari Adi? It means all the devotees, but Narahari Adi also indicates our Gurudev, because this is the guru of Lochan Das Thakur. Narahari Adi Bhaktagan, all the devotees. Tesbara Lana Mora Yagyara Stapana. And we have this word from the previous verse too, Stapana, Stape, that they're establishing. Shivas Thakur, the best of the devotees, is Narad Muni avatar. My Gurudev, Narahari Chakravarti, who's a Narahari Sakar, who's the first person to write about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the form of songs. Adi meaning all the different gurus. Bhaktagan, and the devotees tells, the translation here is a little funny. You see, if you do it according to the translator, Srivas, Narahari, and the other devotees, but then they're skipping over this word Adi, and they're just lumping Adi in with Bhaktagan. But therefore, there's some fault in the verse. It's repetitious. It doesn't need to be said. You can say Narahari Adi, the devotees beginning with Narahari, or you can say Bhaktagan. Gan means the devotees, it's plural. So there's no necessity to say both. But if we understand that Narahari Adi means Gurudev and all the acharyas, then it makes sense. Tasabari Lana Mora Yagyara Stapan. Mahaprabhu says they helped to establish Mora Yagya, my Yagya. E Yagya Kali Kali Deha Gade Gade Taruka Shakala Loka Patita Pamare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is a performance of this yagya. A yagya means this yagya, Kali Kali, in this age of Kali. Deha Gare Gare. You should take this. Deha Gare Gare, from house to house. And in that way, Taruka. Taruka means to deliver. Taruka Shakala Lok. Shakala means all, and Lok means persons. You'll deliver all persons who are patita pamare, even though they may be very, very fallen personalities. In the Stava Kalpa Druma, there's a verse which some Vaishnavas recite when they do kirtan and when they chant Nam Bhajan in the form of japa. It's called the Nam Samarpana mantra. It's a mantra that we use to offer our this yagya. Nama yagya, maha yagya, kalo kamasanasanam, Krishna Chaitanya Prityarte Nama Yagya Samarpanam. That Nama Yagya Samarpana. Samarpana means to offer. I'm offering this because Yagyo Vai Vishnu. This is Yagya, right? Vishnu Arpita Niskam. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, Vishnu Arpita Niskarma Dharma Eva Yagya Uchate. That Yagya means to do something without your own personal desire. So when we begin something, actually many Vaishnavas say that before we do it, we should offer it. Some Vaishnavas, they offer it afterwards. But in the Jagannath Mandir, when they begin to cook in the morning, before they cook, there's a mantra they chant, they call Lakshmi Devi, and they offer this activity before, because when we offer it before, then our consciousness is going into that mentality. This is not for me. And then at the end, again, it's offered. So this is Nama Yagya. It's the Mahayagya. It's the greatest Yagya. Kalo Kalmasanasanam. This is a Yagya which destroys. Kalmasa means that the faults, the contamination. Nasana means to destroy. It destroys all the faults in the age of Kali. Therefore, in the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam, it's described that, I'm trying to remember the verse. Mantra tantratas chidram desha kalaha vastutam. Mantratas tantratas chidram. In your mantra and in your tantra, there's always going to be some chidra. Chidra means fault. There's going to be some problem. You may perform some yagya and you do this mudra. This is like the nipples of a cow. You need to, but maybe one of your fingers slips. So that's a fault. And you're not going to get the proper result, because when you do yagya, that kind of yagya, everything has to be very, very precise. If you chant the mantra wrong, if you say that now we're going to go on parikram, I'm not sure what kind of benefit you'll get, because there's no such word as parikram, but it's parikrama. If you go on parikrama. So if we chant the syllables wrong in that mantra, we may get some wrong results. Therefore, mantra tas tantra tas chidra. There's always some chidra, some fault in your mantra and in your tantra. Tantra means the activities, the rituals and ceremonies that you're doing that. But sarvam karoti nischidram. All that chidra, excuse me, I'm going to take a throat wash. All that chidra goes away, anusankirtanam tava, when we chant the holy name. And therefore, here in Orissa, we have the Smarta Brahmins. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was one of the leading Smarta Brahmins at the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there's still to this day, there are many, many Smartas here in Puri. But even here in Puri, even though there's Smartas, even amongst the Smartas, they still have some appreciation for the holy name. And so when they do some yagya, for example, when they do the Vivaha yagya, and a young girl gets married to a young boy, part of the yagya is they initiate the wife, the girl, into the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because mantratas tantrajas chidram deshakalahavasim sarvam karoti nischidram anusam kirtanam tava. That when you chant the holy name, all those faults go away. Therefore, Nama Yagya Mahayagya Kalo Kama Sanasanam. That this Nam Yagya Kalo Kama Sanasanam. It destroys all the faults of Kali Yuga. Krishna Chaitanya Prityarte. This mantra, Prityarte, this same word is used in the third chapter of the Gita we were just reading. Yagyatat, Artat. Artat means the goal, to please, arte, for the purpose. So Krishna Chaitanya Prityarte, to get the priti of Mahaprabhu, or to give affection to Mahaprabhu. You do this Nama Yagya. Therefore, Nama Yagya Samarpanam. I offer this sacrifice for the pleasure of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It's meant for his pleasure. This is the Sankirtan Yagya. In his commentary on the first verse of the Shikshastika prayers, Thakur Bhaktivinoda has described that this Nam Yagya has 7 flames. In the Mundaka Upanishad 124, there's a description given of the Sapta Jivaha. And Sapta Jivaha means the 7 tongues, or the 7 flames of the normal yagya. Kali Karali Chamano Java Chasu Lohita Ya Chasu Dhumravarna Spulingini Visvaruchicha Devi Lalayamana Iti Sapta Jivaha. These are the 7 different tongues of the sacrificial fire. They're called Kali, Karali, Manujava, Sulohita, Sudhumravarna, Spulingini, and Visvaruchi. And when you do a proper sacrifice, a proper fire sacrifice, these flames should burn very, very brightly. Layayamana means to burn. Iti Sapta Jiva. These are the 7 different tongues of that sacrificial fire. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he liked this conception very much. And he spoke about how this first verse of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshastakam, which Thakur Bhaktivinoda describes as carrying the essence of the entire Shikshastakam. All the verses are contained within this one verse. All the purport of all these verses are contained within this one verse. Chaito dharpanam arjanam bhava mahadevagni nivapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam pranamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. These verses are given in the last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. They were spoken or composed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was staying here in Jagannath Puri, and he was absorbed in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So there are 7 different flames indicated in this Chaito Darpana Marjana verse. I'm not going to discuss those elaborately. That would be a whole nother session for us. But the first tongue, the first flame is Chaito Darpana Marjana. That this chanting, it cleanses the darpana, or the mirror of our chaita, our consciousness. The second flame is Bhava Maha Devagni Nivapanam. Nivapanam means to extinguish. The Davagni, the Maha Davagni, that great forest fire of material existence that the living entities are suffering through. That's the second flame of the Sankirtan movement. The first is it begins to clean our consciousness. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains that just as when you have a mirror, maybe you have a mirror that's really, really dirty, it's got oil on it, and you go to clean that mirror, you can rub and rub and rub, but it's going to take some time before you can see anything. And as you start cleaning, the first thing that you can see, you can begin to see yourself. And that's our nature within Varnashram Dharma. And then as we clean more and more, we clean away all the mirror of our consciousness and all these external upadis, these designations which are always covering us, sarvapadi vinirmuktam taparat vina nirmalam, which have to go away if we want to practice bhakti. That's the first thing. All those different upadhis, those designations go away, and we understand ourselves as pure consciousness. And then the second symptom is the second fire of the Sankirtan Yagya, the Nam Yagya, is that the jiva is the forest fire of material birth and death is put out. In other words, the living entity gets liberation, which in Chaitanya Charitamrita said, Mukti tucha phala hoy, nama basa hoiti. Don't think that's a very big deal. Mukti tucha phala. Tucha phala means insignificant. It's the tucha phala means the fruit. Tucha, it's the insignificant fruit, even nama bas. If you just chant nama bas, you can get this liberation. Not a very big thing. The third flame, third of the seven flames of the Sankirtan Yagya, is Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. That the living entities in this world who are suffering, they begin to develop the Shreya. Shreya means auspiciousness. They begin to understand what is real auspiciousness. And that's Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. It's a Kairava. Kairava means a white lotus, white lily. It's often translated as a lotus, but it's actually a kind of lily. And there's a difference because the word used afterwards is Chandrika. Chandrika means the moon. The lotus blossoms under the light of the sun, but the Kairava, the lily, blossoms under the light of the moon. Just directly in front of our ashram here in Jagannath Puri, literally 2 meters in front of our house, our door, there's a pond there. At least during the rainy season, it becomes a pond. And there's many, many Kairavas growing in that pond. And you get up in the morning and see they're very beautiful, they frilly blossom, but after 2 or 3 hours, they close up. And the Padma, the lotus flowers, which are in the same pond, there's a few of those, they begin to blossom in the sunshine. So this Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, this means that the pure lily of dedication to the holy, to the Lord. This is the next thing which comes from the Sankirtan Yagya. We have some desire to serve the Lord. We have some understanding of that. And then the next thing is Vidyavadu Jivanam. Vidyavadu, the wife of transcendental knowledge. Vadu means a wife. And Jivanam, the life of the wife of transcendental knowledge. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments that many people, they want to know, how do I know what is my swarup? How do I? This will come. Vidyavadu jivanam. You'll acquire your eternal form just by chanting the holy name. That's the fourth of the seven flames of the Sankirtan Yagya. The fifth of the seven flames of the Sankirtan Yagya is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. There's a great Ananda in this Yagya, but it's not just normal Yagya. It's Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. It's Vardhana. Vardhana means just that we have this Govardhana, right? We all know who Govardhana is. That's Giriraj Govardhan. Vardhana means to nourish or take care of. So we're nourishing our ocean of ecstasy and our consciousness of this ecstasy, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. It's an increasing ocean of bliss which nourishes our spiritual life. That's the fifth of the seven flames of the Sankirtan Yagya. The sixth of the seven flames of the Sankirtan Yagya is Sarvatma Snapanam. That Sarva Atma Snapanam. This bliss of Krishna consciousness will come to who practice it, Sarva Atma. And Snapanam means that they'll get some bath. They'll take some beautiful bath in His holy name, and a bath in the nature of bhakti. This is a bath Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes in the bhav, in the mood, the emotions of Srimati Radharani. This is this Nam Yagya. And the final of the seven flames of the Sankirtan Yagya is Param Vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. That this Nam Yagya, Nama Yagya Maha Yagya Kalo Kama Sanasana, it's always victorious. Param Vijayate. Therefore, Param means the absolute. Vijayate means not just Jayate, but Vijayate, very strongly. All glories here, all conquering. Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. The Shri Krishna Sankirtan defeats all types of nonsense. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very fond about speaking about this Nam Yagya. And he, although he established many different temples and mutts, but the whole purpose of doing that was to establish not, he spoke sometimes, not a deity. He said there's no purpose in having a temple without a deity, but even if you had the deity, if there's no holy name, then that temple is really empty and it has no opulence. So understanding these 7 flames of the Sankirtan Yagya, it means, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that we establish these temples to be places for the chanting of the holy name. And therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta sometimes said, we are not construction workers. We're not bricklayers or carpenters. We didn't come to build temples or buildings. We're just peons who are carrying the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So although he established temples and monasteries and deity worship and festivals and things, the underlying purpose of all of that was to preach about the holy name. And in this way, he harmonized the Pancharatrika Vidhi and the Bhagavat Vidhi, these 2 different paths of devotion. Therefore, there's a song we like to sing sometimes, which is ascribed to Narottam Das Thakur, although I have a book in our library. I forget the name of it, Narottam something or other. Anyway, it's a collection, very big, fat Bengali book, maybe 3-4 inches thick, which is a collection of all the songs of Narottam Das Thakur in a critical edition. Critical doesn't mean that you criticize, but critical means that it compares different editions. And some editions, the wording's a little different. So this particular song's not included in there, which leads me to suspect that it was not actually written by Narottam Das Thakur. But just a little interesting note about Gaudiya literature. It's not uncommon for humble Vaishnavas to write a song, or sometimes even a book, and they do so under the inspiration of a great Vaishnav, in this case, like Narottam Das Thakur, and they give the credit to that particular personality. In the West, in secular scholarship, we consider that to be a great fault. We consider that a kind of cheating. But in our Gaudiya line, it happens quite a lot, and it's considered acceptable. In fact, it's considered to be very humble and glorious that you don't want to take the credit for yourself, rather you give it to someone else. That's not the general mood today. I wouldn't suggest that you write an article and put your Gurudev's name or somebody else, but this was something in our Gaudiya culture. So I'll just sing a few lines of this. Gauranga karuna koro amidina hina jane Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Samopatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane. He prays that Gauranga Korona Koro. When you say Koro in Bengali, it means do something. It means to force something. It's not just, you say Kripaya, Vyasamai, please. You say Kripaya in Bengali. But here he's not saying Kripa, he's saying Gauranga Korona Koro, that you force me to accept your mercy, your karuna. Because Dina Hina Jani, I'm so fallen and low, I'm so bad, I don't even appreciate mercy. That's the implicit idea in it. Mosamo Patita Prabhu, Mosamo, there's no one Patita as fallen as myself, my dear Mahaprabhu, Nahi Tribhuvani, not in all the 3 worlds. So then Mahaprabhu says, okay, what is your desire then? And he says, Dante Chena Dori Gora Daki He Tumara Kripa Kori Esho Ama Hridaya Mandire Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. He says that Dante Trinadori Gora Daki He Tomar. Daki is an interesting word. Daki, you may see, you may have heard the phrase Dak Nam, for those of you maybe living in Mayapur. Dak means, Dak Nam means like your village name. I'll give you an interesting example. We had a young man who used to work for us. He did some typing and things for our publication work. And when he came for the interview to get the job, I asked him what his name was. And he said, my name is Bideshi. And I know enough Bengali and Odi. I said, what do you mean your name is Bideshi? I'm a Bideshi, you're a Deshi. Bideshi means a foreigner, and Deshi means a local. And he said, no, this is what they call me, because in my village, my mother was the first woman to give birth to a baby in the hospital outside the village. And so because I was born outside the village, they called me Bideshi. And he said, that's my Daknam. The daki here means, it's a verb, it means to call out. Dante Trinadori Gora. I'm calling out with straw in my teeth. How do you do kirtan with straw in your teeth? It doesn't work very good. You can have a session in the Kirtan Academy. Everybody tries to do kirtan with straw in their teeth. You don't hear anything. What does it mean? It has a purport. It means, several different meanings could be there. I'm just going to give one short one. That I'm not speaking from the lips. It's not coming, the sound's not coming, it's coming from my heart. Dante Chenadori Gora, Daki He Tomar. This is how, Daki He Tomar, I'm calling out your name. And so then Mahaprabhu perhaps says, okay, what do you want then? This is what I want. I want to build a temple, because all Hare Krishna devotees are supposed to build temples, right? That's just what you do. Kripa Kori Esho Ama Hridaya Mandiri. But I want a special temple. I want to build Hridaya Mandir. I want to build a temple in my heart. And Kripa Koro, I'm begging you, please be kind. Esho Amar, you come and you live in that temple. So this is the Nam Yagya that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to establish, that Srila Prabhupada established. And Prabhupada, when he went to America, he didn't say the first thing is I have to build a temple and then we can start preaching. But rather he went to Tompkins Square Park and he sat down underneath that tree. We were there, we've been there several times. There's a little sign on the tree that this is where the Hare Krishna movement started. Wonderful tree. He sat down underneath that tree and he did kirtan. And so many different people came. That was Srila Prabhupada's first temple. That tree in Tompkins Square Park, where he made many temples in the hearts of the devotees who welcome Krishna into their hearts. So this is a real yajna. In fact, if we have some idea to do some other yajna, once we've taken shelter of Nam, it's a fault. And therefore, in the Padma Purana, the 8th offense to the holy name is described as Dharma Brata Tyaga Hutari Sarva Shubha Kriya Samyam Api Pramada. That this is the 8th offense to the holy name. Dharma Brata Tyaga Huta Adi Sarva. Huta means a yajna, a Agnihotra yajna. Dharma is some religious activity. If you think that the holy name is some religious activity, you think that the holy name is some kind of brata, some kind of vow that I do for Kartik or something, and that's why I'm chanting, it's some penance that I'm doing, some austerity. If you think it's tyaga, if it's some kind of renunciation that you're doing, or you think it's huta, some sacrifice, some yajna like that, huta adi, meaning different types of sacrifices, giving in charity, doing different things, sarva, all those different things. A subha karma, subha kriya samyama, that it's equal to the subha karma, this chanting, then this is a great offense to the holy name. And therefore, Vaishnavas generally don't do this Agnihotra yajna, except for the time of Nam initiation. And what is the necessity of that? I've seen, Doyal Gauranga Prabhu could tell you, with Niranjana Maharaj, I've seen him initiate many devotees, and he doesn't generally do a fiery sacrifice. That was my service when I first came to my Guru Maharaj. I was initiated before, and Guru Maharaj gave me initiation again. And my service prior to coming to him was that I was a pujari, and in our community in Florida that I was staying in, Alachua, I was the pujari who did all the yagas for the Hindus. Someone died, if there was a marriage, namkarana, when the child gets a name or whatever, the first grain ceremony, all these different things. I would go to their home and I would do some yagya, and I would chant Hare Krishna. I'd always insist on chanting Hare Krishna and speaking on Bhagavad Gita, and insist that they take a Bhagavad Gita. So that was my service before I joined. And Guru Maharaj also, he told me that then when I joined, you do this thing. But we do this not because it's so charming. It's very, very charming. It can really pull your consciousness in, and it makes a good show. Guru Maharaj instructed me to install the deities of Radha Gopinath here in Bhubaneswar, which we did in 1994. And I spoke with him about it before the ceremony, and I said, my understanding is that we want to make a big show for all the smartas and common people who don't have faith in the holy name, so they feel like something happened and they have some faith that the deity's been installed. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, exactly. He'd like that. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport that when they established the deities in Vrindavan, that the real sacrifice, the real installation was done by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. But to give faith to the common people, they also had all these Brahmins come and they did some yagyas and things like that. So before you come to Krishna consciousness, you may certainly be taking shelter of Dharma, Brata, Tyaga, Hutari, doing all these different Subha Kriya, these different pious activities, auspicious activities, and it's good. And we never want to discourage people from doing those activities. Krishna says like that in the Gita. We should never discourage someone from doing pious activities. We want to encourage somebody if they want to feed the poor, if they want to preach about vegetarianism, they want to speak about something which we might consider to be upadharma, or not actually dharma, but something which leads to dharma. That's okay. We don't want to discourage it. But once you've come to this Nam Yagya, once you've been initiated in this Nam Yagya, then Gurudev gives a lecture at the time of initiation. He speaks about the 10 offenses to the holy name. You were chanting the Hare Krishna mantra before initiation for at least 1 year. Right? What's the difference? We were chanting before, we chant after. The difference is that Gurudev is now accepting us. And he's telling us, you do this chanting as this yagya for me. And the yagya is that you avoid the 10 offenses to the holy name. One of which is this 8th offense, Dharma Brata Tyaga Hutahari Sarva Subha Kriya Samyam, that you consider this chanting of Hare Krishna to be some other religious activity. There's so many religious activities mentioned in Mahabharata and different Vedic literatures, and this is chanting Hare Krishna is one of them. We should have firm faith that this yagya is a different yagya. Nama yagya maha yagya. This is a maha yagya. Kalo kamasanasnam. It'll destroy all the faults in the age of Kali. Once there was a village in India. There was a great drought. And for 3 or 4 years, there was no rain whatsoever. And all the villagers, their whole survival was dependent upon agriculture. So they were starving. And after some time, they decided we have to perform a yagya to get rain. And so then they went to some astrologers, some Jyotisha, and they searched for a proper time and a venue and everything for the yagya. And they made it compulsory. Everybody in the village has to come. And so according to the schedule, all the people in the village, they started showing up at that place. And one of them showed up there carrying an umbrella. And when they saw that, all the villagers started laughing. The guy's puggle, he's gone crazy, he's mad. There hasn't been any rain for 3 or 4 years. So they did the yagya, and an important part of the yagya is to take prasadam afterwards. So they did the yagya and they took prasadam, and then the villagers started slowly leaving the place. And then all of a sudden, to their amazement, the sky started getting dark. And in a few moments, there were heavy clouds all over, and then thunder started coming, and then a heavy downpour of rain. And all the people, they ran up to the guy who was holding the umbrella. Can I also take shelter of this? And they ask him, how did you know to bring an umbrella? And he just said one word, Shraddha, faith. We're doing this yajna for Krishna. So we should have firm faith that Krishna will take care. Yajna vai Vishnu. That yajna means for the pleasure of the Lord. This is the real Nam Yajna. We see, as I mentioned here in Orissa, some people, they chant the Hare Krishna mantra for different reasons. Just they consider, sometimes in their smarta consideration, they think that women are full of faults. And so if we initiate them in the Hare Krishna mantra, they'll become free from fault. And they think that's the purpose of chanting Hare Krishna. There's a verse sometimes that they sing. How is it? Rama Nama Ladua Krishna Nama Gi Hari Nama Kanda Kida Gori Gori Pi. That you take the name of Lord Ram, which is like a nice ladu, and then you add to it the name of Krishna, which is like Krishna Nama Ghee, which is like nice ghee, and then Harinam, which is like Kanda Kira, very nice sweet rice, and Gori Gori, we mix them all together in Pi, you drink it. Rama Nama Ladua, Krishna Nama Ghee, Harinama Kanda Kira Gori Gori Pi. So different people will chant Hare Krishna for different reasons. That's why recently we gave this talk about the Kirtan Kata symbiosis, of their intimate connection between Kirtan and Kata. Because if there's no Kata, what will be the conception of your Kirtan? We have to have some conception, and that comes from Krishna Kata. And therefore Srila Prabhupada would always speak something. So this is Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan Yajna, and he's told the devotees just before he left home in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Bolo Krishna Bhaja Krishna Gao Krishna Nam Krishna Binu Keha Kichu Nabaviha An Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Bolo Krishna, you glorify Krishna, bhaja Krishna, worship Krishna, gao Krishna Nam, chant Krishna's name. Krishna Binu Keha Kichu Nabaviha An. Don't think of anything other than Krishna. Jadiyama Pratisneha Take Sabakar Tabe Krishna Vyatirikta Nagai Beyar. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The word Jadi means if. Jadi ama pratisneha. If you love me, sneha means love. You have some love for me, then take sabakar. You follow my instructions. You do what I've told you. Tabe Krishna Vyatirikta Nagai Beyar. Don't chant my name, Mahaprabhu said. Chant Krishna's name. Sometimes we chant Mahaprabhu's name. Sometimes we chant Prabhupada's name. Sometimes we sing Jai Guru Dev. But Prabhupada didn't come to have people to train them to do kirtan of his name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't come to give his name. He's in the mood of Radha. And Radharani doesn't tell the Sakis to do kirtan of her name. It's not that the Sakis go to the Kunj and start chanting Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Radharani say, what are you doing? Stop that noise. Chant Krishna, Krishna. She gets pleasure hearing the name of Krishna. So Mahaprabhu in that mood, sometimes we do chant Mahaprabhu's name and it's very sweet, or the name of Radha, or the name of Gurudev. But that's a special thing. In general, for this Nam Yajna, we chant the name of Krishna. And therefore Mahaprabhu says, Bala Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Gao Krishna Nam, Krishna Binu Keha, Kichu Nabaviha An. Chant Krishna's name. Worship Krishna. Glorify Krishna. Jadiyama Pratisneha Taki Sabakar. If you love me, you love my instructions. Don't chant my name. Don't chant any other name other than the name of Krishna. And how often should we do that? Kishoyane, Kibojane, Kiba Jagarane, Ahani Shachinta Krishna, Boloho Vadane. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Kishayane, while you're asleep, you should be chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. Kibojani, while you're eating, you chant the name of Krishna. We see that here in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Puri. Here in Puri, when they would take prasadam, they would take a mouth and say, Hari, Hari, Krishna, Krishna. Because while you're eating, you chant Krishna's name. Ki Sayani, Ki Bhojani, Kiba Jagarani. While you're awake, chant Krishna's name. Aharnisha, day and night. Chinta Krishna, just think of Krishna, Boloha Vadani, and chant Krishna's name. So this is Yagyarta Karmano Nyata Loko Yam Karma Bandhana. Tadartam Karma Kunteya Mukta Sangha Samachara. This is work done as a sacrifice for the Lord. But this is not an ordinary yagya. This is Nama Yagya Maha Yagya. This is a great yagya, because generally we do yagya to please Lord Vishnu. But in this yagya, it's done for the pleasure of that personality who's the origin of Vishnu, who's Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, this is the great yagya. And Krishna Chaitanya Prityarte Nama Yagya Samarpanam. We do this Nama Yagya, we offer this Nama Yagya for the pleasure of the Lord. And therefore, it's not for our pleasure. The members of the Krishna conscious movement, they practice this thing. They come and they live in the Dham. They go out in Harinam. They distribute books. They attend classes in the Kirtan Academy. They attend classes in Bhagavatam class in the morning, not for their own benefit, but rather, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Vishnu Arpita Nishkamo. They do it as an offering with no desire for themselves to the Lord. And this dharma, eva yagya uchate, this is called yagya. When we do something for the pleasure of the Lord, for the Lord's dear devotees, without any personal pleasure, any personal motivation of our own. So I want to stop there, and I want to remind all of you that I made a request. I'm going to turn on my light here. I made a request in the beginning of our talk, getting a little dark, that at the end, I wanted to ask everybody to please share some reflection. What it is, what did you win? Was there something that you liked that inspired you from this talk today? And if so, my humble request is, thanks, Gauranga Prabhu. I didn't notice until just now. I wasn't looking at myself. I should have. What is it that struck you in this talk today? So if anybody has any reflections or anything, I would relish hearing them. Gauranga, but we have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I'll mute myself. Before our students will come up with some questions, I wanted to thank you very much, dear Madhavananda Prabhu, first of all, for this nectarian absorption in Sankirtana Yagya. What struck me personally was that, chanting Krishna's name, not Gauranga's name, not Radharani's name. That's what they want. If you want to serve Gauranga, if you want to serve Radharani, they ask us to chant Krishna's name. I think it's very important to understand that they are more pleased. Of course, Krishna is more pleased when we chant Radharani's name. There's some, maybe you can speak something about that also. But yeah, that's very important concept, I guess, which stood out for me.
Yeah, this is a definition of yagya. Yagya vai Vishnu. It's done not for our pleasure, it's done for the pleasure of the Lord. And for my pleasure, sometimes I know of one devotee who's advertising. He says, I have a better program than Srila Prabhupada gave. I have something more powerful than what Prabhupada gave. He says that. I have something more powerful than what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave. I have something more powerful than what Rupa Goswami gave. What do I have? Chanting Goranam on your beads and chanting Krishna Nam. That's okay. Why argue with that? That's an amazing thing. If more people would chant Goranam, it would be pretty good, wouldn't it? But there's a reason why we chant Krishna Nam. We can chant Goranam and it's very powerful. But even more powerful is chanting Krishna Nam because it pleases Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And if we're doing it for his pleasure, and when devotees speak about this chanting Goranam, they say that, well, you do this and you'll get this benefit. You. The emphasis is on me and what benefit I'll get. But that's not real yajna. Real yajna means that I'm doing it, yajna tat karmano natya loko yam karma bandhan. I'm doing it for the pleasure, yajna vai Vishnu, of the Lord. And Mahaprabhu's pleasure, he says, Jari ama pratisneha taki sabakar tabi Krishna vyati naga yibayar. Don't chant my name, chant Krishna's name. And many, many things actually could be said about this. It's a very, very deep esoteric topic. I actually have a desire, if you bless me, Gauranga Prabhu, to make a book called The Kirtan of Our Sampradaya and speak about this at length. It's a very in-depth topic. Is that okay?
We will be blessed to have a book.
Vrindavan
Book for
Priya,
Kirtan Academy.
Vrindavan Priya has asked a nice question. Actually, it's the same question somebody asked me the other day in our little WhatsApp group. I see Gorni Tai Prabhu and Brajabani who are here from that group. And I forgot to answer that question. Somebody asked the same question, what's the best kata to do? If we're talking about kata. Well, there's so many different types of kata. You may do Rup, Gun, Leela kata. You may do katas about the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the Leelas of Krishna. But what's important is that it's Sudha Krishna kata, that is pure Krishna kata. What's the best kirtan? The best kirtan is pure Krishna kirtan. We can try to speculate. We can say, well, I think that Leela kirtan is higher than Nam Guna Rup kirtan. And in one sense, maybe it is. But what's highest is when it's something which is done according to our adhikar, as Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport to this verse we started off with from Gita 3:9. Prabhupada says, what is it? One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna. So if we want to know what is the best Krishna kata for us to chant, what is the best kirtan for us to do, we go to Gurudev, that pure devotee who knows. We don't speculate that, oh, I think this is a better thing, or this is more pleasurable for me, like I'm such a great personality. That for my sense gratification, I may imagine like that. But we should follow Gurudev. So that kata will depend on who you're speaking to. If I'm speaking to the devotees, as we're speaking to all of you today, we spoke something a little confidential. I think I could, you can correct me, but I'd be surprised if any of you heard this discussion before about this Nam Yagya from Chaitanya Mangal. It's not a very common subject matter that you hear, even amongst devotees. Now, I could go out on the street and speak this. I could go out on the street here in Jagannath Puri and do it. There's many people do kirtan here, but who's going to understand, even here in Jagannath Puri, and what to speak if I'm in the streets of New York or Paris or Moscow or something? Who's going to understand there? So that kata will differ according to the audience. We want to give them a conception, but according to how much they can digest. And so maybe we just tell them that, that God is a person. And maybe we don't try to tell them that he's blue and has a girlfriend and lots of cows and like that. That might be a little hard for them to digest in the beginning. But God is a person, and he doesn't like it if you hurt his creatures. So you should be vegetarian. Now, by stating that very, very simple, basic thing, which is not our purpose to make vegetarians, Prabhupada says in some places, but by doing that, we're giving them a gift. What is the gift? We're giving them a little conception to try to help them understand something about the desire of the Lord. That Bhagavan, that God is a person, and he has likes and dislikes. And he really doesn't like it when you go and take one of his children and murder them and start eating their body. Okay? And Gorni Tai Prabhu says, very good question from Vrindavan Priya Mataji, which we just tried to answer. I would extend it to ask how to put into symbiosis a kirtan and a kata, in real symbiosis when both are serving each other and not distracting. Well, in this yagya, it's described, we were just reading from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that a yagya kali kali deha gari gari, you go to all houses in this yagya. And this yagya, Sabbaloka Karna, all the living entities' ears. Garta Kunda Parisar, they're the kund, they're the sacrificial pits of this yajna. So this yajna means that we have to take it to everyone. But who you're taking it to, it's going to differ what you chant. Personally, when I do Harinam in Jagannath Puri or on the streets in the West, I personally don't like to chant Prabhupada's name a lot. I'm sorry. Maybe we chant Namo Vishnu Padaya one time with the devotees. I don't do a lot of Panchatattva mantra. Mostly I chant the Hare Krishna mantra because I want to keep it real simple for those people so they can understand something, because what can they understand? And when we do, I learned a beautiful thing when we talk about Nam Yagya from Bhakti Marg Maharaj. We were with Niranjana Maharaj a couple of years ago. We went to Toronto, and Bhakti Marg Maharaj invited us to do some Harinam in the park. So fantastic. This is before COVID. So we went to the park, and I started to help to set up the instruments and different things. And I was facing the people. And he said, no, that's not how we do it here. Here we sit in a circle with our backs to the people. And I was a little shocked because the way I grew up doing Harinam, we always face everybody. And he said, no, we just face each other. So we did. And actually I led the first kirtan and we all got somehow absorbed. And I remember we were all chanting with our eyes closed. And when I finally opened my eyes after half an hour or so, I was surprised to find there was about 6 or 8 outside people sitting with us. Because they could see that we were absorbed in something. And just to highlight Bhakti Marg Maharaj's move, which I thought was brilliant, when you sit down and you're looking at someone kind of like this, and you're chanting, maybe you're like this, people feel like they want me to join a cult. And they get really, really nervous, right? And somebody comes up, here, have a free book and you can come to our temple. Yeah, it's okay. But when they see you chanting in a circle and you're completely absorbed, then automatically, what do they think? They're doing something for peace. Yeah, I like peace also. I'd like to do something for peace also. And they come and they sit down with you. And then they really begin to take part in the yajna. Instead of just trying to convince their mind that, yeah, Hare Krishna people, we're real, we're also okay. I know a Hare Krishna devotee who's a lawyer. Instead of trying to convince them something like that, you just show your own ecstasy. So that's a symbiosis. That symbiosis means according to who we're doing kirtan with. Because Sabha Loka Karna Garta Kunda Parisar, in this yajna, all the living entities' ears are the sacrificial pit, but not everybody can understand in the same way. And so according to who we're speaking to, we speak in a certain way. You're going to the Kirtan Academy. Mm-hmm. Now, I wouldn't suppose that in the first class in the Kirtan Academy, they start speaking about Sabari Raga, and Sabari Raga is like this and this, and you're like, well, what is he talking about, raga? What does rag mean? I don't understand. And you become very, very confused. We have to speak according to the level of the person. So that's that when we speak about the symbiosis, inherent in that conception is the yajna itself. And who are we doing it for? Brajabanita's commented, the same in Israel, people are tired of religious pushing. Yeah. So if they see that we're trying to push something, it's just horrific. People feel like they're being violated or attacked or something like that. But if you see somebody who's just absorbed, and yeah, we've got a book if you're interested in it. Are you sure you're interested in it? Once, speaking about Niranjana Maharaj, he took me to get a phone SIM card in America once. It's a long story. And we went to the phone company place, and we're standing there. And I told the lady, I said, yeah, this is the first time I've been in America in like 20 years. I've been living in India, just as a kind of way to introduce something about Krishna consciousness. And the lady said, India, really? That's so cool. I always wanted to go to India. I said, really? I said, well, I've got one of these with me today. Let me give you this. And I pulled out of my bag, like it was something very extremely special and rare, I pulled out a Jagannath sticker. And I say that they say this is the face of God in this holy city of Jagannath. And I gave her that sticker. And Niranjana Maharaj is there with me. And Niranjana says, "You're going to give her that? Like you shouldn't do that." It's kind of like reverse psychology kind of thing. Very brilliant preaching. So as Brajabani is saying, people are tired of religious pushing. Now, whatever works. Some places in India, some places, religious pushing does work, especially if they know something about the holy name and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can go, and Prabhupada pushed them really heavily and chastised them. But that's not the same thing in Israel or New York or Moscow, I don't think. Okay, anybody else have any reflections? What did you win today? Did you win a prize? Tiana, did you win a prize today? Want to share what you won? Anything you liked? You have to unmute yourself. I'm sorry, I'm embarrassing you. But just in one sense, what is there something you liked that you win as a prize today?
I just liked. I don't think that you mentioned it in the live class. I think it was in the course. I don't know if you can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little hard. You speak a little louder. Yeah, that's probably even better yet. There you go. Plug it in.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I was just saying, I don't think that you said it in the live class now. I think it was something that you said in the course. I just really appreciated how you said that how you compared the symbiosis of the kata with the kirtan to worshiping Krishna and worshiping Radharani, how you cannot have kirtan without kata and you cannot worship Krishna without worshiping Radharani. So I really appreciated you enlightening me on that.
Great. That makes me so happy. That's Prabhupada's program. Both are required. Otherwise, it just becomes music. And it's nice music. It's pious, but we don't really understand the ultimate thing of it. Thank you, Hare Krishna. And Krishangi, do you have any reflections you want to share? Or how about Prema Hari Kirtan? I'm just going down the line here. If you have anything, or Vrindavan Priya Mataji, do you want to share something?
I actually very much, yeah. Can you hear me? It's okay?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Yeah, I actually first time heard that you know, like about the flames of Yagya, and it was very, very, very interesting, very inspiring, very beautiful, like comparison. I just kind of missed the fourth one somehow. That's the line Vitaranam Vidyavadhu. That's
The fourth flame of the Sankirtan Yagya. The fourth flame of the Sankirtan Yagya, is Vidavadu Jivanam. We understand that it's the life, the Jivanam of the wife of knowledge, which means that we understand what our Swarup is. Vijavadu Jivanam.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for this. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Where are you at?
I am actually in New Vrindavan.
In New Vrindavan, my gosh.
Yeah. I come here, to assist Malati. So I'm, coming here to spend always some time when I can. So yeah, I came in.
You're fortunate. Please tell Malati that Madhavananda is offering her pranams and that we miss her in Jagannath Puri. We hope she comes again.
Yeah, well, she's also hoping to come again, but like now it's just difficult.
Yeah, it's a little hard right now.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Padam Priya. And see, Gorni Tai Prabhu, do you have any further comments? Anything? You had something already.
Practically just I see that how important to speak about the conscious kirtan. it makes me really fired up that we should speak about, and that I very much appreciating to again you put it into the focus, because yes, because we are kirtaniyas, but when new devotees come, sit down, many times they just do it for their own happiness and not really focused on the as service. So, but thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yes, sometimes we've seen it. For those of you who don't know, Gaura Nitai Prabhu is a senior disciple of Shiva Ram Maharaj. I think he's still in Germany right now. Yes?
Yeah.
And usually he's in Hungary. But anyway, he's just appreciating. I've seen a lot of times young people come and they're expert musicians sometimes. And sometimes within a few weeks, they pick up the harmonium, they pick up mridanga or something, and they're a better kirtaniya leader in terms of music than some older devotee. But in the language of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, always and necessarily, he says, always and necessarily, someone who's doing that kirtan with feeling, and it may be that young person, right? It's not a question of age or seniority, but always and necessarily, whoever's doing that kirtan with sincerity, that's a real kirtan. Thank you, Gaura Nitai Prabhu.
So yesterday we have a big kirtan in Passau. It was really appreciating. I was amazed how many just came, just give donation. So it's a very good sign that we can spread in Western countries also, and many young devotees coming. About 20 we are in a season in the temple. Thank you very much.
For those of you who don't know the history of ISKCON in Germany, that's a huge thing. Germany, ISKCON was considered to be a cult, and the government persecuted the devotees heavily because the devotees were cheating. At one point, they were collecting money to feed people, poor people in India, and it wasn't being used for that. And they did a whole big expose on television, and ISKCON was like outlawed, and it was a huge thing for some years. And still, ISKCON's not so appreciated in Germany or in France. France is another place. Gaura Nitai Prabhu knows also. So, but when we just go and do Harinam, everybody loves you. I've seen here in Jagannath Puri, you do Harinam, and the same pandits who are so obnoxious, always wanting money. I've seen the same pandits give donations to the devotees when they're doing Harinam, because you're doing Harinam means you're a sadhu. They appreciate it. You know, one thing I really appreciate about the Kirtan Academy, and I'll just say this and finish, is that you guys are not just teaching people to be musicians. You're doing that. That's important. Everybody, we should learn to play nice mridanga and harmonium and sing nicely and learn ragas and things. But you're also teaching a philosophy and the bhav of it, which is very important. More important, as you know. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpadurubhischa kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nanda koti vaishnavrinda ki jai.